Imagine a stretch of land that looks completely ordinary. Dense forests, quiet rivers, small towns scattered across the Massachusetts countryside. Nothing that would catch the eye of an unsuspecting tourist. But when the sun goes down, something changes. In the shadows of the Freetown State Forest, figures are seen watching hikers. Shapeless beings cross empty roads. Luminous objects appear and vanish between the trees, like they're running some kind of surveillance or a hunt. And the most disturbing part, the people who live there aren't surprised at all. It's as if they already accepted that the region hides an invisible presence, silent, patient, and unwilling to be understood. So tell me, what actually exists inside the Bridgewater Triangle? A cursed zone? A portal? A place where the fabric of reality is thinner than it should be? Or just a spot on the map where impossible things like to gather? Today, on Urban Secrets, you re-coming with me into the heart of one of New England's oldest and most intense mysteries, the Bridgewater Triangle, a territory where the impossible isn't rare, it's routine. The Bridgewater Triangle covers roughly 200 square miles, framed by the towns of Abington, Rehoboth, and Freetown. The name came about in the 1970s, coined by researcher Lauren Coleman, who noticed that strange reports kept piling up inside that exact area, as if something invisible outlined it. Something no one could see, but everyone could feel. To understand the mystery, you need to go way back, long before modern sightings, long before UFO theories or cryptid reports. That land, even before the towns existed, was considered sacred and dangerous by the Wampanoag people. They believed a supernatural force lived there, called Hockomock, which can be translated as the place where spirits dwell or the swamp of the damned. To us, it might sound like superstition. To them, it was real. So real that the Hockomock Swamp was used for burials, rituals, and meditations. At the same time, it was avoided, never explored too deeply. The spirits that lived there were unpredictable, and drawing their attention could come at a high cost. Centuries later, when European colonists arrived, they brought their own fears. There were conflicts, persecution, massacres, and a lot of blood spilled over that land. The Great Swamp Fight alone left countless bodies scattered through the marshes. The Wampanoag said this fed the spirits. The colonists, meanwhile, claimed they felt a dark presence watching them on the cold New England nights. As centuries passed, towns grew, but the stories didn't stop. Explorers found mysterious caves, stone structures that had no logical reason to be there, creatures that defied every scientific explanation. And starting in the 1960s, sightings became so frequent that local newspapers published warnings almost weekly. Strange lights in the sky, figures walking through the woods, screams echoing from nowhere. It was as if the Bridgewater Triangle lived in two realities at once, one visible and ordinary, and another hidden, pulsing just beneath the surface. And every decade, some new event reignited the mystery. But what makes that place so different? Why, out of all of New England, does that region seem to attract the impossible? To find out, we have to go straight into the triangle's heart. We have to walk the trails where people vanished, look up at the skies where officers chased glowing objects, and revisit the accounts that still keep investigators awake at night. Get ready! From this point on, we're entering a territory where logic doesn't always work, where fear isn't born from what you see, but from what you feel. The swamp creature Hockomock Swamp isn't just a backdrop, it's the main character of the triangle. People claim that on certain nights, a massive figure walks between the marshes, a creature with red eyes, a heavy-built body, sometimes described as a giant, other times as something closer to a primate, but bigger than any species known. In 1978, two explorers mapping the area said they heard heavy footsteps and deep breathing, like something huge was approaching. When they pointed their flashlights, they saw the creature sprint into the trees with impossible speed. The strangest part, the footprints found at the site belonged to no known animal. For decades, similar reports kept coming in. The creature became known as the Swamp Monster, though no one knows if there's just one or more objects in the sky. And the police officer's case, if the triangle had only a mysterious creature, that would already be enough. But the region also seems to be a stage 4 aerial phenomena. One of the most impressive cases happened in 1979 to Bridgewater police. Officers were patrolling when they saw a massive glowing object hovering over the treetops. They described it as a triangle of light, silent, moving too smoothly to be any known aircraft. They tried to get closer, but the moment they did, the object shot upward and vanished into the sky, leaving only a luminous trail behind. And the most disturbing detail, both patrol car radios failed at the exact same moment. Winged creatures and phantom dogs. Then came the wave of giant birds. People reported creatures with wingspans of 3 meters or more flying over the forests. One of them allegedly landed on a rural road, forcing a driver to brake and stay inside the car, frozen until it flew away. In another part of the region, hikers claimed to encounter completely black dogs, far too large to be real, and that vanished into the mist seconds after being seen. According to Celtic and British folklore, these dogs are omens of death. And interestingly, many colonists who settled in that region came from those exact cultures: rituals, shadows, and the Freetown Forest. The most feared area of the Triangle is the Freetown State Forest. There, trails lead to clearings that look normal during the day, but at night, they become the setting for reports of strange rituals. Footsteps following visitors, unexplainable lights, and even humanoid figures watching from a distance. Police investigations over the years found burned fire pits, carved symbols on trees, and markings some believe may be signs of cult activity. But maybe the most unsettling accounts come from people who enter the forest and leave with the same sensation, that they were being watched the entire time, as if something ancient, much older than the towns around it, had followed every step. There are many stories about the Bridgewater Triangle, but none of them compare to what happened in a single summer night in 1971. A night so disturbing, so full of details and unrelated witnesses, that researchers still call it the Day of Convergence, as if several different phenomena, usually isolated, all decided to show up at once. It all started a little before 8 p.m., when a group of teenagers walking near the Hockomock Swamp saw a bright light crossing the sky in total silence. They thought it was a meteor, until they noticed the light slowed down and hovered, and came back. Half an hour later, just a few miles away, a family in Rehoboth heard violent knocks on their back door. The father, terrified, grabbed a flashlight and went outside to see what was happening. The beam swept across the yard and something moved way too fast to be human. For a split second, the light caught it. Something between a man and an animal, with arms that were far too long, a head pushed forward, and eyes that reflected a deep, blood-red glow. The creature vanished into the woods with a jump that shouldn't be physically possible. At 9:10 p.m., 2 truck drivers reported on the radio that they had seen a winged figure, huge, bigger than any known bird, gliding above Route 24. One of them said the creature dived straight toward the truck, like it was about to strike, and pulled away at the very last second. The other driver refused to keep going alone on that highway. He asked for escort. He trembled the entire drive. But the turning point of that night came at exactly 10:37 p.m., when local officers were called to investigate strange lights hovering above the Freetown Forest canopy. When they arrived, they saw a triangular object hanging in the air, silent, perfectly still, like it was watching. One of the officers tried to get closer. He took 2 steps forward and the object lit up entirely, flooding everything around it with a dead, unnatural stillness. The wind stopped. The insects stopped. The entire forest went mute. Then the patrol car radio exploded in static. The headlights went out, and a wave of heat swept through the air, like something was being activated. One of the officers dropped to his knees, clutching his head, saying he could hear a sound not with his ears, but inside his mind. The other tried dragging him back to the car, desperate, when the object simply vanished. It didn't fly away. It didn't accelerate. It didn't leave a trace. It just disappeared. The forest breathed again. The wind returned. And those 2 men, experienced, respected, wrote in their official report that they had seen an aircraft of unknown origin, impossibly silent, impossibly fast. That night would be burned into the memory of dozens of people. Different accounts from different places, describing creatures, lights, shapes, sounds, as if something had awakened deep inside the triangle. As if every piece of the puzzle, monsters, shadows, UFOs, belonged to one single invisible presence, one that only lets itself be noticed once in a while. And the question that still haunts investigators today is, why that night? Why did all the phenomena show up together, almost synchronized? And the most unsettling thought of all, what if we witnessed only a tiny fraction of what really hides there? The Bridgewater Triangle is still there, untouched, quiet. The trails remain open to hikers. The roads still carry distracted drivers. The towns around it live their routines like any other American town. But when night falls, when the fog covers the swamp, when the Freetown Forest closes in shadows, that feeling returns. That ancient, primal feeling that we're not alone. That's why so many investigators, even after decades, say the Triangle isn't just a hotspot for strange events. It's a living territory. Something breathes there. Something watches. Something waits. Maybe the truth will never come out. Maybe whatever hides in that region doesn't want to be understood. Or maybe, and this is the most disturbing possibility, we simply aren't capable of interpreting what is happening. Because what if all those creatures, lights, and apparitions are just different faces of one single force? Something that doesn't really fit in our reality, but touches our world from time to time. Something the native tribes already knew. Something the colonists feared. Something that's still active today. Silent, attentive. The Bridgewater Triangle isn't just a mysterious area. It's a reminder that the line between the natural and the impossible is much thinner than we think. And that there are places in the world where that line opens. And maybe the real danger is insisting on crossing it. I'm Felipe, and this was another episode of Urban Secrets. If you love deep mysteries, forbidden places, and secrets that defy human logic, then you already know. I'll see you in the next Urban Secret.